My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 207. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Connie Constance. The indie rock disco queen from Watford in the UK released her second studio record last Friday, entitled Miss Power. In today's episode, we're speaking with Connie about the journey to this second record, being true to her own self, and her introduction to indie rock. Here we go. Our guest today is an English singer and songwriter from Watford. Her first record, English Rose, was released on a major label in 2019 and explored more soul and R&B sonics. Now an indie artist, she's making the music that she really wants to make with indie dance tracks that she's dubbed Fairy Bitch genre. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Connie Constance. Hello, how are we?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. Where are you joining us from today, Connie?
I'm joining you from a little village called Abbots Langley that is in the suburbs of Watford, which is in the suburbs of London.
I was going to ask about Watford a little bit later. I know that you are very, I want to say, is it town proud? When you're very, is that the right phrase, town proud?
Yeah, I think so. I think that works.
I wanted to talk about the music scene there in a little bit, but before we get to that, I wanted to say congratulations. We are here today to talk about your brand new second record that is out now. It is called Miss Power. It's an absolute, sorry to kind of use this word against you, it's a powerhouse of a record. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I love this record.
Of course. Well, as you should. It is a brilliant record. I know that there was a bit of a gap and that there was a bit of a journey between the first record and the second record and a few things to get through. But how are you feeling now that these songs they're out in the public, they're in the hands of the fans? How are you feeling?
I feel good. It's been such a long time coming with this record. So it was so exciting to make. And then after that, all of the art stuff, like the videos and the artwork was, again, just like another really fun journey to sort of colour in the album. And then releasing it is just like the final chapter. And it just feels like one whole like story altogether. And I'm just super grateful to be able to have this career.
Well, of course. Are you someone who gets nervous when it comes to release time?
I go in and out. I'm like, one day I'm totally fine. And then actually I've kind of noticed that if it's a day where everything's organised, then I get nervous because I've got more things to think about. Like, no, I don't have things to think about. So my brain's like, starts thinking about like unknown things I can't control. But when I've got like a day where I've got to figure out this, figure out that, then I'm not nervous. I'm like, cool, I've got jobs to do.
I think that's very fair. It's almost the if your mind's occupied, you don't have time for it to wander and think about those what could be's or whatever else.
Exactly, yeah.
As we mentioned, it has been a little bit of a journey between this first and second record, and if you're okay and comfortable to talk about it, I would like to talk about, I guess, the fact that you've gone a little bit of a reverse. You went from a major label to an indie label, which is, I guess, in 2022 is not such a big deal. It might have been back in the day, but for you, working with a major label just wasn't the right fit, and maybe wasn't the right kind of, I guess right fit was the right word to use. But for you, what was that experience like, working out that the major label wasn't for you and that the indie label might be better suited for the music you were wanting to release?
I think so. The experience was like kind of affirming, I think is the best word to say. So it was like confusion whilst I was at the major label and being like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like how it's meant to be. And one of the things I remember thinking so much was I shouldn't have to not enjoy the business side of my career. And that was like really like confusing to me, because I was like, I love making music and it's this beautiful, precious thing that I'm keeping safe. And I'm like, is the love of my life. So why do I not enjoy the business I'm releasing and all of these things around like such a precious art form? So that was like one of the main things that was like confusing to me. And it just got to a point where I was like, well, if this is, you know, the business side of thing, I just don't think I can do this as a career. Like, I don't think I enjoy the career side of this like I thought I would. And then I left, and it was a bit like that was definitely a bit of a down stage. Like, I was like, oh, I don't know, like what I'm doing. I need to like build up my confidence again in music. Like, am I going to have a career in this? And then there was like a clear moment. I went to LA with my friends. I had like the last bit of money in my account, and I was like, I'm going to LA to live the Hollywood dream. No, I just went for a week. No, went for 2 weeks. And I started working with people out there. And obviously, when you go to another country and work with musicians, you don't have all this, like, they don't have any expectations or like knowledge of like, you know, who you're working with or anything in like your home country. So it was like a clean slate. And then I came back and I was like, I am absolutely not letting anybody not like let me have this career in music. Like, if I'm not going to have a career in music, it's going to be up to me. Like, I'm going to throw the towel in. So I came back and I was like, boom, let's go. Independent, let's do this. And it was just like my whole energy just opened up. And I was like, no, I do enjoy this. I remember I did enjoy the other side of music, not just creating music. And since then, I have been enjoying every single day of like this career.
It very much sounds like that on the record. It does sound like you are enjoying yourself. I want to say, I feel like I'm doing a disservice by saying it is a feminist indie rock record, only because I feel like that is reducing it to a few words. I feel like that might just be one facet of a very multifaceted record that you've released. But it does retain that kind of energy, as you mentioned, the kind of, I'm going to do it on my own terms. I feel like that is best represented in the track Kamikaze, which we will let people listen to themselves. I won't quote it in this podcast because I feel that I would do that a disservice. But I guess, how freeing was it for you having that approach and going, you know what, yep, I'm not going to take anyone's shit, part of my language, and then utilising that when you're writing lyrics and writing music and melodies?
I guess that was probably like, that is like the DNA of the record. Like, that's like what was like going through me. And I think as well, even if I was like, when I was creating the record, it was like the early stages of this feeling of freedom. It was like, whoa, like, you know, I've got my power back and I'm like feeling good. And like, I love making music, and everything was just like in that kind of feeling. And then, but what I've realized is now, like, it's like a year later after finishing the record, like creating the record, and I'm releasing it. And I actually like I feel like that feeling is fully formed, and it's like I don't even now. I'm just listening to these songs, and it feels like the soundtrack to my own healing. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
No, I love that. I know that. I think you. Please correct me if I'm misquoting you. That you dubbed the album. The genre was fairy bitch genre.
Yeah.
And that you wanted it to be something that people can dance to, but not like Calvin Harris, but more so like Bloc Party or Klaxons or whatever it may be.
Exactly, like very indie dance. Like I wanted to have like those anthems in there that as soon as they switch on, people are like, like I want to party. So, and then the other kind of theme I have, do you guys have skins?
Yes, we do have skins.
Skins. So I was like, if you went to like a skins, if fairies went to like a skins themed party in the woods, that would be like the other like themes of the album.
I love that, and having been I won't give away my full age, but having been around when Skins first aired, I love that kind of imagery of skins with fairies in the wood, if you will. Do you remember? Because it is almost like I don't want to say it is a throwback sound. It is the sound of the record is very 2022, but I guess in relation to indie dance or indie dance rock, Bloc Party, Klaxons, and Skins, it is very circa 2000s-ish. Do you remember your introduction to that kind of music, to like indie rock?
I don't remember when I first like started listening to Arctic Monkeys, but one of the biggest introductions to indie and just rock as a genre and like British rock was my stepdad literally like filled our house with like CDs. Like they were just like everywhere. And then like iPods came in, so I was about secondary school. So I think I was like probably like 11. And I got like a little shuffle iPod, and I would just like take his CDs and then download them and put them onto the shuffle, like, and not know like whether I was going to like it or not. And then sort of be like, I like this one, or no, this is my vibe. And that was like, and he's like a big fan of Paul Weller and like Oasis. And so that kind of like, I think solidified how I was feeling towards like indie and Britpop at like 11, secondary school kind of time.
Was that around the time that you got into writing music? Was that the same? Was there like a big gap between that?
Yeah, so really I never like thought that being an art, like when I was a kid, when I was a super young kid, I was like, I want to be a pop star. Yeah. Like that's the dream. But then I thought that you kind of have to like have, I don't know, like a family of artists, or like, I just thought you had to be kind of like a chosen person to do that, or you have to go on X Factor. Like in my head, there was no, like, I didn't think of another route. That was just like, that's how it works. And I think that's kind of like quite a small town mentality. Like me and my friends, we were always like, oh, you should go on X Factor, like to each other, like you should go on X Factor and then you might be able to be a musician. And then it wasn't, but I always wrote songs and poetry since really young, because it was kind of my mum's way of telling me to like deal with things, like get things out of my brain and onto a piece of paper and like reflect. So that was like very early stages of like my writing. But it wasn't actually till I was 18 that I started working with a producer. Before that, I would just like upload some songs on SoundCloud that were just like really bad chords and me just singing over it.
we all have to start somewhere, so I can very much appreciate a SoundCloud career before stepping into where you are now.
The most powerful designer drugs are the digital ones we use daily. And we get high off them. One touch, tap, like, scroll at a time. You know, just like tech creators want us to. Use digital without digital using you. Learn more at sync.ithra.com.
Did you know 1 in 2 women wear the wrong foundation? Matching foundation is hard, but Il Maquillage makes it easy. Take the Power Match quiz to find a better match in seconds, customized for your unique skin tone, undertone, and coverage needs. With 600,000 5-star reviews, this best-selling foundation is going viral for a reason. Available in 50 shades of weightless natural coverage. And with Try Before You Buy, you can try your full size at home for 14 days. Just pay shipping. Take the quiz at ilmaquillage.com/quiz. That's ILMAKIAGE.com/quiz.
Yeah, I mean, I just like, it's definitely one of my, like, for one of my purposes to like sort of shine a light on like smaller suburban areas or places that don't like have as much resources. They're not like close to a big city, and be like, you know, you can just do it. Like, if you want to be a musician, like, there's ways, and sort of shine a light on the ways that you can like get into the industry. So yeah, that definitely was my way. I remember just thinking, like, I think I was about 17, 18 when I was like, I really want to be an artist. I don't know how. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm just going to busk. I'm just going to sing on a bus. I'm just going to just start singing everywhere till people just get sick of me.
Well, look, it has worked, and people are not sick of you as of yet. So you're doing well.
Thanks.
What is the music scene like in Watford?
So it's like, for me, it didn't really exist. Like, growing up, it was like, at school we'd had like band rooms and stuff, but that's kind of like as far as it went. It was like, you know, you might spend your lunch in a band room, or that was kind of it. And then there was like a bit like a small grime scene in Watford when I was growing up as well. So there was definitely a lot of like guys that were making rap and grime music growing up. But generally the scene, like, there isn't like a hub, there isn't a spot, there isn't like venues that play a lot of new music. There's like one venue in Watford that I know plays like new bands called The Horns. But it's like, it's not like, the scene needs more love. So, and there's such good musicians coming out of Watford now. Like, in the last year, there's Griff, the amazing pop stars that come out of Watford. There's this girl called Jay Gray who does like soul, R&B, and she's like amazing from Watford. And I'm like, guys, we are here. We just need to connect.
I feel like sometimes every few years there is like a new little hub of new artists that come out of a place, and it's not just in the UK. It seems to be everywhere that there might be a few artists that come out of a certain town in Texas or in the UK or whatever it may be. And so it sounds like it is Watford's time having a bit of a we've had a bit of a look and done a little bit of our analytics. We do have some listeners in the UK, so hopefully they are making their way to Watford and checking out what the music scene is like there.
Thank you.
I was hoping you might indulge me a little bit just to talk about 1 or 2 tracks on the album. One of my favourite tracks on the record was Yuck, which is a more talk, sing-song kind of track, but I loved it that it was almost like a train of thought in an audible form. And I was wondering if you would, I guess, explain to us the creation of that song, how it came about and how you wrote it or how it was produced.
So me and Sam, Karma Kid, we wanted to do a song like this for a while. We had like a couple of references, a band life Without Buildings, I'm pretty sure they're called. And we've been listening to like this kind of freeform music, like whilst we were creating the album. We were like, oh, I really want to like try and do a track like this. And then I think there was one day where we both just been like really listening to some of these references and came in and we were like, today's the day. Like, I've been listening to this music, you've been listening to this, like, let's have a go and see like whether it can work for us or whether it's just like, again, an experiment that's, you know, it can go anywhere, it doesn't matter. And then he started like, he wrote the bass line and a guitar loop, and just like we wanted it to just feel like something that could just sit like and repeat and like not change too much musically. It's just like this ongoing soundscape that was just enjoyable for the ears. And then I basically wrote down a couple of subjects that I knew I wanted to like get to and like had been on my mind, and I wanted to like talk about somehow along the way. And then I wrote a chorus, but I didn't sing it out loud in the room. I was like, let me just see if it just works. I'm not going to overthink anything from this writing. And then I went on to the mic and I was like, let's do this. And the first take is the take that we used for Yuck. So it's just one take. So I'd done it 3 times, but we went back to the first take and we tried to re-record the chorus, because that's just like what you kind of usually do when you write songs, is like make sure the chorus is really strong. And we were like, no, the original take, the way it flowed was just like a natural experience. And it was really freeing, just having like the topics that I've been thinking about in my brain, just like, wow, splurge out with no control and no restriction of like how I'm going to present it. And it actually helped me then in the next couple of sessions. I actually wrote in the same way. I didn't record. I scripted it out like a usual song, but I started approaching songs after in the same way that I wrote Yuck after writing Yuck, because I was like, oh, this is really freeing. Let me just write down these weird random thoughts that have just like come into my head and see if they can work as lyrics later in the day. So yeah, that's how Yuck was born.
I love that story. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
No worries.
The other track that stood out to me was Hurt You. I thought that was a brilliant track. As we've mentioned, this record is it is a powerhouse of a record. You're saying and speaking a lot of your truth, freeing a lot of thoughts. I realise that it's a very unfair question to ask an artist what their favourite track on a record is, so I'm not going to do that. But if there was to be a song that people could walk away, like if people can walk away being impacted by one song on the record and you had the power to pick that song, what would you kind of pick?
I feel like, okay, I'm going to do like an in-between. I feel like either, it's so hard. It's also hard because like I've heard the singles now quite a lot. So like I'm excited for people like more to hear, like get into the other tracks on the album.
Of course.
But I think it's in between Hurt You and Never Get to Love You. Because Never Get to Love You, sound-wise, so is Hurt You. I don't know. This is difficult. Never Get to Love You and Hurt You, they were my first thoughts. So those two, if people could like walk away with those 2 songs, and I think they'll have a good taste of the album.
If there was a third track that I was going to mention, not to just name off all my tracks that I loved, but it was Never Get to Hurt You. So I'm glad that was your pick as well, because I thought that was a lovely track.
Thank you.
Now we are living in the end of 2020, and we're not going to focus too much on COVID, but the world is starting to open up. We're starting to see people tour, exactly, which does lead me to the question of whether we will see Connie Constance at some point in Australia touring this record or supporting this record?
So I'm not sure when, but next year I'm coming to Australia.
That is very exciting.
That's still like we're still planning it and like finding out whether it's like part of a festival season. But next year I'm definitely coming to Australia, which is the first time I've been able to say that. I've been like, yeah, I'm gonna come hopefully, but I'm definitely we've got funding and I'm definitely coming to Australia next year. Finally.
That is very, very, very exciting. Very exciting. I know there's a lot of people here excited to see you, so we won't push for any further details. We don't want to get anyone in trouble, but we are excited when that is announced, when we do get to see you here. Connie, usually we would ask our guests what they're currently listening to. Is there anything at the moment that is on high rotation for yourself?
I can't stop listening to the Wonder Horse album. Have you heard of, there's a band called Wonder Horse and the album's called Cub. Let me just double check. I've literally not even looked at the song names. I've just been listening to it on repeat.
I have to admit, I have not heard of them. What kind of genre are they?
It is, it's indie rock, but I'm trying to think of like the best. Maybe I shouldn't even summarize it. You should just go and check it out, but I can't. I think it's called Cub real quick. Come on, phone. Yeah, Cub. And Cub. It's like I can't stop. Like I just like it's been a while since I've listened to an album and like immediately listened to it again. Like I listened to it at least 3 times in a row every time. It's so good, and I'm a big fan of them. And they are supporting. I don't know why I'm basically doing their PR, but they're supporting Fontaine's. I really want a ticket to their show.
Look, it's good to see other artists supporting other artists, and hopefully we'll get this to them to get you free tickets to the show.
Thank you.
Until that point, though, Connie, once again, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I very much appreciate it. Congratulations on Miss Power, which is out now. But yes, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to hopefully meet you.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Connie Constance for her time. Miss Power is out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy the record. We also want to give a huge shout out to Kyle at PIAS Australia for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Are you ready for some hoops off?
Are you ready for some hoops off?
This is legitimately what you see people do right before they're going to fight. They take off their hoops, their earrings, because they don't want to get them ripped out of their ear, and they get ready for battle. Hey, I'm Liz.
And I'm Karen.
And you're listening to Hoops Off from Luminary.
On this show, we take our hoops off to bring you the spiciest, the saltiest takes on each week's games. We'll also be reading books by our favorite players, reviewing Shaq-sponsored products.
And of course, we'll be bringing the tea.
Should I prepare the hot water?
Oh, you better prepare the hot water. Please make sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast listening platform.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.